Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so though my mind is not where it needs to be in regards to this conversation, I still want to have it. It was the two players I did homework on. So I'll try to recall what I've learned there. I think I won't forget their names this time. Burries, and what's the other fella's name? Dang it, I did forget. My mind is not on this, but I just wanted to talk about it anyway. So we'll talk about Burries first, and then if I can remember the next name, I will. But Burries, average defender, shooting guard, 6'4", kind of hefty. Looks like he can put on a lot of weight. So he's going to be kind of burly going forward. But he doesn't play like that necessarily. He's really smooth, nice jump shot. Kind of, like I said, average defender. Not bad, not great, but could be a part of a good defensive setting. But where he really is going to make his money, in my opinion, is the pressure he puts on the rim. Yeah, I do remember the other name. It's Brown Jr. So we'll talk about that guy next. But Burries, where he really stands out to me, if I'm being completely honest with you, is when he drives into the lane after he picks up his dribble, what his footwork looks like. That's what stood out to me. And I heard one other person say that as well. I watched a lot of footage, a lot of people talking about him yesterday. From the morning to night, I was watching at least 6 videos on Burries. And what I really gathered, by the way, he will be playing in the Final Four. So I look forward to seeing what he can do there. Plays on a good team, from what I understand. They're a really good squad, to say the least. So that's something to be said. But he's one of those guys where if this was the old NBA, I don't know how he would make it, because one of the things he's best at is basically traveling in the era that I'm from. That was traveling back in the day. But he has such fantastic running back-like elusiveness in the paint. He can score in the paint on pretty much all types of traffic because of how elusive he is after he picks up the ball and does his Euro steps and all these different types of footwork. He is just the next level version of that, man. The next level version. Maybe the best I've seen at that, maybe ever. He's just awesome at that. You know, he drives at the rim with a lot of speed. Not the most explosive athlete, but can get up a little bit. But what makes him special? And people were saying, well, what makes this player special? That was one of the things that was asked in several videos. Don't really like him defensively. He shoots okay. Numbers aren't great. He's shooting all over the place. What makes him special? This is what makes him special. This is what separates him from others. When he picks up the basketball, whoo, he's gone. I'm talking about like footwork beyond belief. Deck moves and all different types of stuff beyond belief. And so that's what I want to say about Burries. That's what stood out for me. Nice playmaker for the most part. Going to play some point guard, some shooting guard as well at times. Score probably to his core. Decent mid-range jump shot, decent three-point shot. All of that stuff is average. But he's really going to put a lot of pressure on the rim. And he's really going to wow some people with his ability to run with the basketball in his hand, to travel in the old days, but is now understood as gathers and things like that. His gather game is just like, I walked away calling him the gather god. You know, once he picks up his dribble, that's when he shines. And so that's what I took from Burries. I don't hate him as a mid lottery pick. I think he should probably be in that mid lottery. I don't know if I'm certain he goes in the top 10. I think I like most of the prospects I've covered a little more than him, only because I think he does have some average ability in some key areas that, you know, just doesn't necessarily stand out like some of the other guys, man. So that's really what it is. I think he's going to be solid. He could really have a nice end of the tournament here, and that would change a lot of things, I think, for him. And a good combine would be really good for him as well. But I just think that when it comes to this specific thing, he's out of work. and that's ultimately what I say. He's going to be a solid guard, I think. I don't know if he starts or not. It depends on how well he's able to continue working on his floor game, working on his defense. But you know, when it comes to gather steps, woof, it's a monster, boy. He is just so very elusive once he gets into traffic in the paint. so many different things he can do when there's like 5 people in front of him. He can just dart around them, stutter step left and right. He probably should have been a running back, low-key. He should have been a running back. But that's a whole nother story. Braden Burries, definitely someone to pay attention to going forward. So next guy I want to mention was Brown Jr. His first name, I don't remember. His real name is Chris Brown, but he called himself something else Brown. He uses his middle name so that people won't confuse him with the many other Chris Browns in this world. But this dude is nice, man. The only problem with him, from what I understand, is that he has some type of back issue that's dropping his overall draft stock. So depending on how the injury goes, if it's something that's going to linger, this is another Michael Porter type situation, will kind of determine ultimately where I would recommend he goes in the draft. But, you know, for me, he is my third favorite guard prospect in this draft behind Peterson, competing with homie out of Illinois that we talked about. It's between Brown Jr. and the dude from Illinois is number 2 for me. I just think they're both fantastic. Brown Jr. has fantastic defensive instincts. One thing that popped off the screen was how well he played passing lanes. This dude can dive into passing lanes as well as anybody, snatch the ball and go the other way. There's some athleticism good there. He has good length. I think he's only like he's like 6'6", 190 pounds, something like that. Very good length, very good height for the point guard position. His playmaking is excellent. His three-point shooting is essentially elite, if I'm being completely honest with you. That's kind of his superpower. He has Dame Lillard, like Steph Curry type distance. Shooting, can shoot from like 50 feet away, hit him. And he just continues to bomb. And, you know, he's an excellent playmaker. His playmaking stuff popped off the screen as well. This is a guy who I think you can make an argument of him going in the top 5, if not for the back injury kind of messing with his draft stock. You could argue that he's more talented than Kingston, in my opinion, more talented than Acuff, naturally better measurements than Acuff for certain. I don't know if he has the motor that Acuff has, but he's definitely a way better defender than Acuff. This is somebody who I think's game is going to very much translate into the NBA as soon as he's able to play. He's undeniable. Brown Jr. is absolutely undeniable, man. His father was a legend from Florida, a basketball legend. I wasn't familiar, but I was listening to somebody talk about him. So, you know, he's been schooled well. He comes from good stock. He made his name in the high school ranks and had a hell of a growth spurt in high school. Went from like 5'9" to like 6'5" before leaving high school or something like that. And was already an elite shooter, already a fantastic player at 5'9". So that growth spurt really sent him into a different space, stratosphere, as it pertains to what he was capable of. His handle is nice. Like, this dude don't have too many holes in his game on either side of the floor. His decision-making, playmaking could grow. I did see some footage of him making some poor decisions and stuff like that, being rushed. He plays with a certain intensity as it pertains to, he likes to play fast, and when slowed down tends to make mistakes, tends to get a little flustered. He's going to have to work on deceleration and stuff like that, from what I understand. But ultimately, when he's able to play at that pace that he's comfortable with, boy, can he hurt you on both sides of the floor and shoot the long bomb as well as anybody pretty much in this draft. So I'm a fan. I'm already a fan of Brown Jr. I think this kid is going to be very, very formidable as a 6'6" big point guard who can help you on both sides of the floor. And if you can coach him up and work with him and help him develop in some key areas, he has an all-star upside for certain. All-star upside. Finish with both hands. You know, a good driver of the basketball. Above average athleticism. Not a great athlete, but above average. He's better than some of these guys. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's really about his back. If the injury is going to continue to be a thing, then of course he's going to drop in draft stock. He's going to have to go somewhere that has a good program, that can wait on him, that can allow for him to take games off his first season or two if it's going to be a real problem. Someone who can mitigate those processes, that risk, just in case he doesn't turn into nothing based on that injury. It's going to be tough. Like, if he goes to the wrong team who's relying upon him to be their point guard, it could be a real problem. But if he goes to a team that's already established, like, say, Atlanta, or a team that has a lot of youngsters like Utah, a team that already has an infrastructure, I think he could be just fine. If they wait on him and give him a year or two to get his health together. Once that happens, you got a prospect with a very high floor and a fairly high ceiling, to be honest with you. So that's the thing. I'm more impressed with him than I am with Flemings, who everybody seems to think is going to be an all-star. I'm usually wrong about things at times. When it comes to guard prospects, I always have a guy that I think is not so great that ends up proving himself to be better than I thought. So that could be very well what's going on with Flemings. But I just think that what I saw from Brown Jr. and what I saw from Wagner, I can't think of his name right now. I think it's from Illinois. I think his name is Wagner or something like that. Wagner. Those are the two guards that I like the most. Those are the guards that I really think are really, really good in this draft. Although Acuff is doing undeniable stuff in college right now. And I think that there's a lot to love about what he's doing in the offensive end. So I'm kind of just like trusting other people when it comes to Acuff specifically. What I saw from him was solid, but as we mentioned in the video where I covered him, I'm just not a big fan of the non-defensive, non-playmaking shooting guard, undersized guard. I'm not a fan of that build. And I just don't know. Like, if you're not really a fantastic defensive player and you don't necessarily play make, but you're looking to score and you're undersized, it's just a combination of issues that I don't know really translate to a lot of situations. I think your ceiling is cut off by your deficiencies being a problem for most units. And so if that's like the supreme version of that, then obviously you feel great about it because you think you're bringing in like a Dame Lillard or, maybe, something awesome like that. But like for me, I'm more likely to go toward a Brown Jr. who's 6'6", length, play makes, defends, shoots, lays the ball up well, can dunk the ball, get to the line. Like he really, can create for himself and others. Like that's more of a complete player that's likely going to fit in more situations. I don't have to go through so much to try to bring to this piece what complements him. You know what I mean? And so that's really what I think is going on there with Acuff specifically versus a guy like Brown or a guy like Wagner. You just don't need to try so hard to bring them what they need. Or a guy like Ament, who appears to be able to do certain things, but when you get him out there, he's not actually able to do those things. It's like I have too many questions about some of these prospects in this 5 through 10 range. If I'm being honest with you, I think these guys can potentially reach their ceiling, but I also think they could potentially just be role guys. And to get a better understanding of the rest of the draft board would probably be best for me to determine where I actually think these guys should slot in. I got to see some of the second round guys too. So I'm still early in my understanding of who all is here. But at this point, I have about 10 or 11 guys at this point I've done homework on in this draft. And my first four are solidified as the consensus first four. DeBonsta, Peterson, Boozer, and Wilson. I'm with everybody on that. Once you start getting to 5, 6, 7, 8, I'm not really sure I'm following the consensus when it comes to the rest of this board so far. Because the two players I like the most are Brown and Wagner. And they're supposed to go. Wagner's not supposed to go to like 7. Brown is potentially about to fall to like 10 or 11. Everybody's loving Acuff. Yeah. Everybody's loving Flemings. Yeah, for me, I'm not. You know, Ament. Yeah. As a prospect, he's in. For me, I'm not really sure. Burries is like cool. I like Burries. I'm interested in Burries, but I'm not expecting him to be an all-star, really, honestly. I just expect for him to be a high-level starter, likely really good 6-man. Come off the bench, instant scoring ability, playmaking ability. If I have some star like John Morant who's constantly out, I can put this guy in and feel great about him. You know, that's how I feel about Burries. Burries could be a little better than that. But, like, I think that Wagner and Brown are players I'm likely going to have to struggle much less to get the most out of. Their floor is much higher, in my opinion, than those other players. And that's kind of how it looks for me. So I want to do more homework on Flemings because I think I'm overlooking something with Flemings. I haven't seen what everybody says. He's going to be this big-time all-star. I don't see that. But what I have to also remind myself is sometimes the template of a player, if they develop fully with the athleticism and all of that, could potentially be worth taking over a guy who's a little more ready to go, who may have certain things already in place that this guy needs to bring on, but ultimately don't have what he brings to the table once he does develop. It's kind of hard to say, okay, let me take this piece that still needs to work on his offhand over a guy who doesn't have that problem. But the reality is the guy who needs to work on his offhand could jump out the gym 10 times faster. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So that's kind of what's going on with Flemings. And that's the logic. It's that you're bringing in not necessarily a prospect that can help you right away, but a prospect that if they develop to their ceiling, has a significantly higher ceiling than the other people that ultimately may be more ready to go, but they can't outrun him, they can't outjump him, they don't have quick twitch muscles, they don't process as fast as him, etc. So it's like, for me, I think that's what it is with Flemings. Flemings has what those guys don't have physically. And so all you got to do is work with Flemings, develop him properly, and then you got like an all-star. And I just don't think I'm looking at it that way. So it's a little tricky for me because we always have to remember what's best for an NBA team versus what's best for maybe what your vision of what good basketball looks like right now. You know what I mean? And so when you're taking a prospect, it's about philosophy as well as taking into account for what a specific need may be in this current era of your team's process or whatever. We need a guard, so let's bring in this guy. Well, that guy may be a little better, even if you don't need him. You're probably going to need him in the future when he develops into who he's going to be. The need may then open up for him to slot right in. That vision and that type of scope is significant when assessing how best to prioritize players on a draft board. So that's really what it is for me. I just have a vision that I like Brown and Wagner or Wagner, whatever his name is, better than I like some of these other guys like Ament and Flemings, who likely are going to project to have greater ceilings or just be able to do more than what those guys that I like on this board are able to do right away. But my thing is, if I bring in a player with a strong floor, what I'm likely going to find is that my risk isn't as bad, and my their floor, their ceiling is potentially high enough to where I feel good about it anyway. That's how I feel about Brown. His ceiling is good enough to where even if I pass on an Ament, if he reaches his ceiling is a little lower than Ament, I still feel like I can beat, the teams in front of me. I still feel like he could be a huge role and be a legend on my squad, that kind of thing. So for what Ament may be able to do when he fully develops, it may not be as valuable to me as bringing in a player that I think can immediately come in and have a fantastic career with my squad. So yeah, I'm kind of speaking in circles, but you guys get the point. So yeah, that's really what it is, man. Burries, fantastic after he picks up his dribble. Starts doing all that gather footwork stuff. Unbelievable creativity and instincts when it comes to that. That's what stood out for me immediately. He's going to be able to drive at the rim, get to the line, score at the rim, as well as any guard in his range for certain. Excellent at the rim, very high percentage scoring the basket at the rim. Pressure. Brown, if his back allows for it, he's already somebody who could start in the NBA, in my opinion. But he's just going to have to develop good decision-making, slow down a little bit, learn how to play in the half court a little better, process a little better, just grow up, grow out of being a 19-year-old. You know what I mean? And if he comes around like I think he will, he's going to be in an all-star team. He's going to be an all-star reserve someday in the future. So that's what I think of Brown. I would not hesitate to take Brown over some of these people, depending on my needs as a franchise, man. Wouldn't hesitate. He's just more talented than some of these guys, man. I'm going to be honest with you. So that's my take on Brown. I think the kid's going to be really, really good. And I think all these kids have a chance to be really good, honestly. I haven't seen any kids that I think are going to suck. I just think you got to work with them. They got to get in the right situation for themselves. And some of them probably slot better than others. But Brown is going to slot on any of the 30 teams in this NBA rather easily, man. I think he's going to fit on all teams in the NBA right away. So that's my take on those players, man. Definitely interesting stuff. And I look forward to seeing these guys flourish in the NBA, and hopefully they get in good situations so they can showcase who they are without having to play behind people for 4 and 5 years like a lot of prospects do. Sometimes you just get drafted to the wrong spot and you're never able to show what you can do, man. So draft landing spots are equally as important as anything else for a lot of these guys, man. They just need opportunities. So that's pretty much my thought on this, man. I hope you guys are enjoying this series. I'm probably going to continue to watch more homework on Brown Jr. tonight. And tomorrow I'll pick somebody else, of course, and continue to get a fuller understanding of what's on this draft board. And, sometime down the road within the next 2 months, of course, I will have my mock draft all complete and ready to go. And then we'll get ready for the festivities, man. May 10th is going to be a big day, man. May 10th is the lottery. This is the most anticipation I have for an NBA lottery ever, because I have a real understanding of who all's there. But I really need to know where they could potentially land in order to assess where I think they should go on the draft board. So once I get that understanding of who's drafting at what point, then I can start having a more educated guess of where I think would be best for these guys to land. But of course, that is not a perfect science either, because people be trading draft picks on draft day and stuff like that. Things can change very quickly with that kind of math. So that's what I want to say, man. Super exciting draft. Very guard heavy. But I also know there's some forwards coming up that I need to pay attention to as well, that people are really excited about. So we'll know more later. Video 44. I thank y'all for watching. I'm out.